Good evening, all. In this session, I'm going to take you through my journey from transitioning from PA DSS to PCI S3. The focus of this session will remain on the incremental changes that's been taking place to transition from PA DSS to PCI S3. There are a number of different acronyms in this area. Just to be clear, I'm going to use PCI S3 as Secure Software Standard and SSLC for Secure Software Lifecycle. Let's get started. My name is Suraj Gyawali. I have 12 plus years of experience driving PCI program, especially focusing on PA DSS, now PCI SSF, and partly PCI DSS. I've led payment application that's used by different banks around the world, including Wells, ANZ, Santander, UK, US, Bank of Colombia. I've trained 20 plus people to transition them from PADSS to PCI S3. During the process, I've created 20 plus hours of training materials in order to achieve so. So far, in this domain, I've led 5 different products across 2 different organizations. I worked for NCR and Evo Payments. I have a postgraduate degree in software engineering, specializing in software security. I'm a certified ethical hacker, and recently I got fully qualified for Certified Information Security Manager, CISM, as well as Certified Information Security Assessor. Areas of my interest are cryptography, threat modeling, security testing, and security development lifecycle. As part of the agenda today, I'm going to talk about the approach that I've taken, best practices that's followed by the approach as well, and how we would be able to maintain PCI S3 going forward. Before we jump in, I just wanted to do a quick audience poll here. Who have been through PCI S3 or SLC audit in the past or planning to do it very soon? Right, excellent. So we have a few. Great. The approach, the key areas I've taken here, they are not in linear format: executive management, documentation, application, audit, and maintenance. First and foremost, getting executive management is the key. Educating the complexities, the cost and effort required for PCI-S3 is really important. We are creature of habit. We've been doing PADS audit for a number of years. It has well built into our software development practices. It comes back of our head. However, with PCI-S3, things have to be improved, enhanced, or revamped in order to be compliant. In addition, PCI S3 is way agile and nimble compared to PADSS. As an organization, we will need to be prepared to adapt those changes. That means it might impact in order to plan our roadmaps or the release methodology, etc. There are different ways to do delta assessment, being SSLC certified vendor or not. So we have to, it really impacts on release methodology and the release cadences of the software. Project plan, resource planning, we have to gather resources from the extra organization, get them on board as well to kick the things off. The next thing is about the PCI Secure SLC strategy, which is really important, that drives how we do change into our application. One of the organizations I've worked for, the decision was to opt in for overarching SSLC. That really means there's one SSLC for the organization or line of the business, and that gets inherited by various different products within the organization. Standalone approach is very much tied up with a particular product. Both has got pros and cons. From cons perspective, one of the cons I've seen with overarching SLC is the governance process could be quite complex and messy. On the other hand, standalone approach could be really expensive for the organization. So all of this required significant investment from the organization. So the first thing we had to do is to get executive management on board. Documentation is one of the key areas where we spend significant amount of time and effort in order to prepare for PCI S3. I broadly categorize documentation into 4 different areas: gap analysis, critical asset register, technical guide, software vendor implementation guide. After I got executive management on board, I engaged QSA to do gap analysis. As part of the process, I engaged internal SMEs like security architect, subject matter experts, product owner, product management in the process. We really focus on 4 different areas in order to do impact analysis. They are critical asset register, technical guide, software vendor implementation guide, and the application. Gap analysis document really worked as a blueprint for doing project planning, resource planning, and it also ensured that we haven't missed any control objectives out of PCI S3. As part of the process, we also decided what modules are applicable to the payment application in question. I'm going to talk in more detail about CAR and Orange Book in a bit. Software vendor implementation guide, the approach we've taken, we took a baseline of PA DSS implementation guide and actually evolved PA DSS implementation guide from that point onwards. There was quite a lot of work gone into preparing for software vendor implementation guide. The format we followed was really linear, how PCI S3 control objectives are laid out in the specification, so we followed the similar format. Critical Assets Register, I would like to call it, it's a center of universe for PCI S3. What you see in the slides is actually a composition of the template I've created for Critical Assets Register. Definition of sensitive data now encompasses cardholder data, sensitive authentication data, token, keys, including HSM keys, and perhaps PIA data as well, depending upon your organization. They are all listed in Critical Asset Register. Sensitive functions are added in Critical Asset Register. Retention period of each data is added. And how we protect, what security controls are in place for this sensitive data at rest, in flight, and in transit. They are added in Critical Asset Register. We also added crypto function. Crypto function is basically, describes briefly how encryption, decryption mechanism works. And crypto function can have one-to-many relationship with sensitive data. For example, if you are generating number of different TLS keys, then sensitive crypto functions remains the same. So we avoided the duplicate of information, hence consolidated crypto function as one, and that's get referenced in Critical Asset Register for appropriate sensitive data. We also added class and packages. Considering the application, in this instance, a Java application, so we added class path as well as we added the package information. It came really handy during the audit to give a code snippet of that particular implementation to the auditor, as well as to find the code in our source code where that code sits. Data classification, we categorize data in 4 categories: sensitive data, confidential data, private data, and non-confidential data. I haven't come across any non-confidential data in Critical Asset Register. Orange Book. Orange Book is basically a technical guide. It's intended for QSA and software vendors. PCI S3 states examine, test, and interview as a testing approach. Any information, they are not captured by user guides or software vendor implementation guide. They are captured in Orange Book. Some of the examples are how internal keys works, They are documented in more human-friendly way in Orange Book. How access control and authentication works for sensitive data, they are documented in Orange Book. So these are some of the examples of the content that went into Orange Book. The name itself actually inspired from TC-SEC, which is a very early computer evaluation criteria introduced by US Department of Defense. This was in 1983, and it worked quite well to distinguish this documentation from other raft of documentation in documentation suite. The application I was driving, they were fairly matured from PA DSS perspective. However, we had to make quite a number of changes into the application. PCI S3 heavily emphasized on entropy requirements. That means we have to use appropriate random number generator algorithms in our application. That led to change random method to secure random in a number of our Java application. If you're using AES, CBC, or GCM data encryption key algorithm, then those requires initial vectors. So we need to ensure entropy requirements are met for these initial vectors as well. Crypto period monitoring obviously had to be extended to cover the scope of sensitive data, so we extended that for keys, token, including HSM keys as well. Auditing sensitive data, of course, auditing has to be extended in order to audit keys, tokens, certificates, etc. We had to generate 128 megabytes of payload in order to meet entropy requirement, which actually gets validated by QSA during the audit. Then the incremental requirements came in for integrity checks. That integrity checks has to be done once every 36 hours. So we have added a flag in our application, what action that needs to be taken. Control objective suggested application needs to be terminated, but for business reason, we added the flag and properly documented it in software vendor implementation guide. Audit. Coming from PCI, PA DSS audit to PCI S3, I found PCI S3 audit to be more detailed and much thorough in the process. It's due to the fact we are in the very early stage of PCI S3 audit. So there were lots of different interactions with the auditor in the process. What really helped us, we had this gap analysis that's been agreed to be on the same page at the early stage of the process. So that really helped to be aligned, USA and ourselves, during the audit process. I think the key there is for both auditor and for ourselves to have patience and support auditor as much as possible in order to get there. Auditor is there to help us to strengthen the security posture and strengthen our policies within the organization, not to create any pain for these software vendors. So we had a really this collaborative model, and it's been a learning curve for software vendors, assessors, and for PCI SSA as well. So yeah, that getting aligned, be on the same page during the audit is the key. So after we did the gap analysis, we engaged auditor in between as well as a checkpoint, just to ensure we are doing things right. And of course, as we get mature, because I've done 5 different products so far, so up to two or three products I did get engaged auditor, then it sort of like came back of my head as well to get things in a right way as I got more experience in this process. Maintenance, I'm a strong believer of continuous compliance. Coming from software engineering background, I aim to check all the compliance boxes after every sprint. With every sprint, we introduce a checklist to ensure static code analysis has been done, there's nothing outstanding. So we prepare this checklist and build into our software development lifecycle process, and they are actually governed by Scrum Masters and security specialists within the team. That really helped us to have this continuous compliance model in place. There are a couple of things that we have done as an incremental changes to PCI S3. We built critical access register and Orange Book as part of our software development lifecycle. As soon as new requirements come into play, there's a flag in change management software, in this case it's Jira, to flag there's a security impact. We added additional flag on the top of it where it actually impacts. Is it going to be critical access register, is it going to be Orange Book, or it's going to be software vendor implementation guide? So that really helps us to track and get a beautiful report from Jira application in order to see where the impact of these changes are throughout software development lifecycle. And that's really critical for the next maintenance step, which is to have a governance process, governance framework for SSLC. As there are do's and don'ts for delta changes, we might have to do a full audit, it's going to cost. So there are a number of different factors that we have to consider and then have this traceability built into our software development life cycle in order to have appropriate target, appropriate roadmap to get full audit done. Of course, we were SSLC certified vendor as well, so we could do our delta changes, but we had a periodic schedule for those. So we did full audit once a year and delta changes every quarter. As PCI SSC has made it clear with PCI S3 or SSF framework, it's going to be very agile and nimble framework for the industry, and we have already seen the evidence of it since it started. It introduced module B, module C, so it's really agile. So we really have to be vigilant and proactive to observe these changes as we progress. So we have to be vigilant in order to embrace those changes, not to leave these compliance towards the end. And throughout these talks, I've seen don't leave compliance to the end, and that the message would be the same from PCI S3 compliance side as well. That being said, if you'd like any further information on any of the topic that I've shared today, if you need a car template or if you have any feedback on this session, reach out to me. Use my email address. It's ssurraajj@gmail.com. So it's the repetition of alphabets of my first name. And I thank you for your time this evening.